Hello, I'm Dave Pannell, and in this video we're going to look at a topic that I know that with things like health and safety and production capacity and all the time that takes up, doesn't usually make it onto the agenda in a manufacturer's boardroom, and that's your company's brand. But branding and how your company presents itself is vital, not just in terms of how your company is perceived by your customers, but also how your company is perceived by your staff and your new recruits. So what we're going to do in this video is first look at why branding is important to manufacturing and engineering companies, and then explore how you can improve your brand both online and offline. Now, branding is important because the world of business has changed. How we communicate, how we manufacture, and more importantly, how we buy. The digital revolution has changed our core habits and behaviours. Now, if we want to find out anything from what time the hairdresser opens to the tolerance of a widget, more often than not, we'll jump onto the internet using whatever device we have in our hand or pocket to find out. And this behaviour has bled into our work lives. A recent report by engineering.com showed that nearly 70% of engineers say that they now turn to a search engine to find information and new suppliers. That means that the first contact someone has with your company will likely be online. In the same report, only 20% of industrial buyers said they would want to engage with the supplier during the early phase of their decision-making process. 50% said they would not talk to a supplier until they had already narrowed down the options to a couple of manufacturers themselves. And 25% said they'd only contact you to confirm pricing and delivery. Now, this is a problem because it means a massive 80% of your customers are saying they don't want to engage with you until they've already made up their mind about your company and your products themselves. And this has led to what's been termed the invisible buyer. Potential customers are coming to your website, making a decision from what they find there, and potentially writing you off without you even knowing that you're in the running, or your sales team ever having that chance to engage. However, if people are making their mind up about your company from what they find on your website, this is actually a very positive thing. Because you, and people often forget this, but you are the one in control of what a potential customer finds when they come to your website. The thing to remember though is that people's attention spans online are very short. And on the internet, we work to something called the 3-second rule. Many studies have shown that people make up their mind about a company, and if they trust you and want to deal with you, in about 3 seconds of visiting your website. And you can't influence someone in that time just using words. The problem is, manufacturers like words. We like to lead with our technical information. But if you haven't given someone the confidence in your company in the first few seconds of them visiting your website, they will just click on the back button and go see if your competitor looks any better instead. So, let's take a look at a typical manufacturer's website. And this was actually the website of a dye and chemical manufacturer when I first met them. And I think it's fair to say that it's not untypical of a lot of SME manufacturers' websites. Now ask yourself, in the first 3 seconds, what was your impression of this company? Would you say cutting edge and innovative? Or would you say dated and maybe even low quality? And remember, we're forming our own instant opinions of this company just by their website, not by actually talking to them. In fact, if this was one of 3 new suppliers you were looking at, would you even go as far as talking to them? Now, how about this company? Would you engage with them? They instantly look innovative, vibrant, forward-looking, but the reality is it's actually the same company, but just with a new brand and website. But what changes there actually been to the business themselves? Well, none. If you'd come to the company on a Tuesday, you'd have seen this website. Come to them the following day and you'd have found the market leader. And it's important to remember that your brand isn't just for your customers. Potential employees are also making a decision if you're the kind of company they want to have a career with. Young engineers are looking to join forward-looking companies where they feel they can build a career. not some old outdated business. And they too will be making an opinion on whether they're going to send you their CV based on what they find on your website and the brand your company has built. Okay, so now we know why having a strong company brand is important for your business. But before we go further, let's take a look at how branding itself has changed. And it used to be that you were in complete control of your brand. You were in charge of where your logo appeared and how and when people interacted with your branding. This means that if your brand wasn't very strong, it didn't always matter. Customers would only see it if they visited your factory or showroom, or on your letterhead, or on the marketing literature you sent out, or perhaps sometimes on press adverts. But they get just as much of an impression of your company from talking to one of your salespeople on the phone, or from your receptionist giving them a warm welcome. Then the internet happened, and now your brand has to work across a whole range of areas, from your website, not just on someone's desktop, but on their phone as well. The same brand has to work on your email footer, on LinkedIn, on all your social media, and 100 other places. Branding in the digital world is always online, always there, and always on. And as companies started to move into the digital world, they realized that their branding had to change. Let's take a look at this company. Now, Amazon regularly come out number one on the lists of the top most trusted brands in the UK. And I think it's fair to say that most of us, or someone in our household, will have used Amazon in the past 12 months. We trust this company. We're happy to give them our credit card details. But would you trust this company? Now, believe it or not, this was Amazon's logo before the year 2000. But as Amazon developed their strategy, they knew that gaining someone's trust was going to be the key to their success. And how they present themselves to customers and their branding was going to be a big part of that. But it's not just Amazon that evolved their brand to meet the changes in how we buy and consume information. Let's take a look at some other examples of companies that we all know and see how their logos have changed. Now, you might not have even realized some of these companies had actually changed their logos at all. But when you collect them all together like this, you start to see some themes and commonalities. And the first is simplicity. Because the same logo has to work just as well 20 feet wide on the side of your building as it does 30 pixels wide on your social media page, logos have had to become a lot simpler. Anything that is fussy and intricate, such as the Barclays Eagle for example, have been simplified right down to work better online. And the second thing you'll notice is how much more confident these logos have become. None of these companies actually say what they do on their logo. In fact, I often say that the digital revolution killed the company strapline. Instead, they're trying to put over an emotion or a feeling. So again, the Barclays Eagle has transformed into a shield because now that the majority of our banking is done online, they want to portray a feeling of security. Argos also. Now, most people didn't even notice that Argos rebranded back in 2010, but one significant change was the underline on the logo became a smile. And this smile is something we've started to see in a lot of logos. Thompson's Holiday did it. Amazon have it because they want to create this subconscious connection with their customers that they're a safe and friendly company to deal with. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that as manufacturers, we all go put a smile onto our logos, but you do need to consider what your logo is visually saying to a customer. Now, I'm divulging myself slightly on this next example, but this is one of my favourite examples of how a company changed its brand to work better in the modern world. The Co-op rebranded in 2016 to what I think we can all agree is a very nice, modern, fresh and more instant brand that works better on digital. However, it wasn't actually a new brand. The older ones amongst us may realise that all they've done is return to their logo from the 1960s. So this just goes to show that we can retain heritage in our brands, which is important for many manufacturers that do sell on their history and expertise. So let's take specifically a look at some recent examples of how some manufacturing companies have also evolved their branding. And just to show that we're not just talking about large international companies, these are all either companies I've worked with or local manufacturing businesses that I know and I think they've done a good job. Now, you will see the same themes as before. So starting at the top, Richard Hoff. They make huge metal rollers that they export around the world, and globally they sell on the heritage of British engineering. So this is the first thing their logo says to you. They have a history, they are established, but they are still innovating. Next down is James Heal, again an engineering company with a heritage. James Heal are all about product development and intelligent design, so they now present themselves with a much cleaner logo that reflects this. But it's interesting how they've also retained the same arrow device in their new logo to keep that link with their history, just updated how it's applied. The next down is LJ, the dye manufacturer whose website we were looking at earlier. And now this is actually quite a bold and high impact rebrand, but that reflects the company's product. They're all about colour, about making an impact, and about innovation in the textile finishing market. And finally at the bottom is Falconer, who are a packaging and carton manufacturer. And this is one of my favourite examples, showing how you can retain a lot of that historical branding that your customers may be familiar with, but update it so that it works better in today's world. So the falcon in the logo has been simplified and updated and presents a far more modern feeling and confident company. An important thing to remember though is that your company brand does not stop at your logo. Now, look at this website. Do I even need to tell you whose it is? Probably not. But where on the website does it tell you which company it's for? Where's their logo even? Well, it's here. And it's not even their full logo, it's just the icon. Now, love or hate Apple, they are brilliant at building their brand. Their brand follows through onto all their products and into their high street stores. And you may say that's fine for Apple because they've got billions to spend on building a company brand, but what about us as SME manufacturers? Well, let's return to a couple of the example companies we were just looking at. This again is James Heal. They make textile testing machinery, and believe me, their machines haven't always looked as sexy as this. They worked with the Design Council, who are the government's advisors on design, to redesign their entire product range. In essence, to do an Apple. So now you can spot a James Heal machine. It glows blue when you start it up. The materials they are made from, their form, are all consistent across the range. And when all your competitors' machines are dull stainless steel boxes, you can imagine the impact this had on their market share. And then, taking a look at how they bring their brand back into the digital world, I think it's fair to say that their website isn't that dissimilar to Apple's. The same colours and form you see on their machines have also been continued onto the rest of their marketing. And it's important to remember the link your branding has between the digital and physical world. Again, return to the metal roll manufacturer Richard Hoff. They're an engineering company. So if you are handing a brochure out, why not make it an engineered brochure? You get one of their brochures and it's metal, with an engraved cover riveted together, a real tangible example of a company's brand and something you're going to keep on your desk. And you should also aim to continue your brand into the workplace. It should continue onto your workwear, in your reception, and think about the impression that somebody gets when they pull up to your building. Walk through your business as a visitor and think, where are the opportunities to get my brand across? Because it's not just for your customers, it's for your staff also. Are you reinforcing your brand to your employees when they walk through the door each day? Do they feel like they're part of a forward-looking company by what they see around them? Now, one point I want to finish on is this. We talk a lot about the brand of our companies, but what we don't talk about is the personal brands of the people who work within our companies. As engineers and manufacturers, we need to ask ourselves, what is actually our product? Is it the thing that we ship out of a loading bay door at the end of the day? Or are people actually coming to us to solve their problem? In manufacturing businesses, it's often the knowledge, experience, and problem-solving skills of our engineers that is our real product. So we should be promoting and building the brand of these people to our customers also. If done well, a personal brand can be used just as well to promote a company. Take a look at these examples here. We know that anything these people are associated with will be innovative, successful. We know that any new product that Dyson comes out with, for example, will solve a problem in a more elegant and efficient way. even perhaps if James Dyson hasn't had a personal hand on its development. Take Richard Branson. Who wouldn't want to have Richard Branson involved in their business? But what we forget is that Sir Richard has had as many failed businesses as he's had successes. And big failures. Virgin Cola, Virgin Megastores, Virgin Cars back in the year 2000, and anybody remember the ill-fated Virgin Brides? Yet Richard Branson's personal brand is so strong that we at least pay attention to anything new he is involved with. Now you might say, that's fine for these megastar billionaires, but how is that relevant to me and my business? Well, the thing to remember is that you don't need to be known by the whole wide world. You only need to be well known in your own manufacturing niche. People don't buy from companies. In manufacturing especially, they still buy from people. And they buy the most from the people they're familiar with, the people they respect, and finally, the people they like. Through digital marketing and online platforms, someone who has a true expertise in a topic can very quickly establish themselves as an expert amongst their niche customer base. It only takes a short time of posting relevant content online to be seen as leading the discussion in your field. And in this respect, people react better to messages being seen as coming from a person than they do from marketing messages from a company. As an example, this is a campaign we ran with a kitchen hardware manufacturer to build the visibility of a UK MD amongst his client base. Posting videos of the MD talking about how their next generation hinge had been engineered to solve kitchen manufacturers' headaches built a personal brand of someone who really understood his customers' unique problems. And it's also worth noting that videos that the company posted on LinkedIn building the personal brands of their people got 10 times as much interaction and views than product-led messages. So, to wrap up, manufacturing has embraced technology in many areas, but your sales and marketing has to also. We all know that manufacturing companies can have change-resistant cultures, but our customers are buying and making decisions in a whole different way to how they were 10 years ago. And whereas topics such as your company's brand might not come naturally to the top of your agenda, we have to embrace those changes in order not just to survive, but to thrive as manufacturing companies in the modern age. So, if you're not winning the right work or attracting the right employees into your business, maybe now is the time to go and evaluate your own company's branding.